Okay, next up is Biomedical Self-Engineering, book number 1, written by John Svensson. It is 228 pages. It is $4.99. It is available on Kindle Limited. Here's the author's description. Divorced and working as a security guard in Portland, 73-year-old Carl is attacked by an unknown creature before he is able to taser it to death. After being released from the hospital, he discovers by accident that he is unwittingly acquiring DNA samples from other people he touches. He discovers a number of shocking facts about himself when a blue box appears in his right eye. Most importantly, he discovers that his health is nowhere near what he assumed it would be. Can he reverse the negative aspects of his health using these blue boxes somehow? And can he reverse his poor financial situation after his wife took half of his pension just before his retirement? Biomedical Self-Engineering is a liberty science life adventure, following Carl as he discovers new ways of living when he is nearing the end of his own. There are no explicit scenes, no harems, and only one swear word at the very end. Okay, and that's all that is very true. While the title of the story is definitely a mouthful, it does describe the power set of the main character, which is kind of an upgrade mechanic. This is a real-world literature story where the elderly main character gains upgrade powers after he fights off a monster while working as a security guard during his retirement years. When he returns home after dying, he finds that he has an interface and special points he can use to cure his arthritis, cancer, glaucoma, and the many other illnesses he hadn't even known he had. Not only that, but he can use these same points to upgrade himself. The only problem is that the number of points he has are finite, which sends him on a hunt for ways to get more and how to use his new powers to improve his life. Like many real-life liberty stories, this is a slice of life format, so you kind of have to be okay with that if you're going to enjoy this. The story, again, follows the main character as he just kind of does stuff, as he upgrades himself, as he gathers more points, as he uses his new powers to increase his wealth. There's also a small kind of underdeveloped secondary storyline with aliens and hints about the other people with similar powers. But again, I feel like that's something that's going to be explored more in other books. This one is mostly just focused on the main character, and it's like kind of understanding what his powers are and what he can do with them. There is no combat in the story besides like one brief scene, but it was still entertaining to read. It has a smart main character who's figuring out ways to kind of exploit this upgrade ability and how to get like more of these points so he can do more things and what he can do with them essentially. And it was fun to kind of think about what I would do in a similar situation, which is always kind of a fun way to connect with like these stories. The only thing I wish I had seen more of in the story was probably conflict. And I don't necessarily mean physical fights, but some kind of opposition to what the main character is doing. For the most part, he accomplishes most of what he sets out to do with very few obstacles, even kind of slowing him down. There are a couple cases, which I won't spoil for you, where there is a little bit more of a little bit more conflict. But for the most part, again, it's just one of the things that the main character has in his power set. All that was really said very well. And he has really interesting thoughts and really interesting ways of kind of explaining it. But there, again, weren't very many challenges to him succeeding. So it feels like some of his progression, not unearned, but came a little bit easy, and I would have just enjoyed it. I don't know, seeing somebody get oppose him in some way. And again, that's kind of a minor comment. Overall, it's an entertaining story. It's an original take on the real life LitRPG premise, and it's enjoyable to read. It definitely reminds me of kind of a lesser version of the Level Up series. So if you like that Level Up series, which is the Western translation, you might like this as well. This is kind of very similar. Again, it has its own original concept and twist and premise on this, just with an older main character, and some of the genetic modifications that are happening here in the story. But you'll see similarities about what they kind of do with their powers in some respects. Small side note, there are a lot of like older movies mentioned in the story as like nods and just like references. And I got them all. And I was like, apparently I have the same taste in movies as a 73-year-old man. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. So had a good time with it. Gets a score 7.4 out of 10. That's Biomedical Self-Engineering book with the score 7.4 out of 10.